So I think one of the most egregious examples is in the city of San Francisco, where Mayor London Breed, her police security detail in 2020 cost nearly $1 million more than what it cost in the year 2015. However, London Breed, as mayor, spearheaded a $120 million defund the police cut. So it's police protection for me, the mayor, and not for the people.
And when it comes down to it, I know we can throw around hypocrisy all the time, and I feel like I see that overplayed quite often. But is this just mere hypocrisy, do you think? I mean, they have to know what they're doing. What are your thoughts, perhaps, when you were looking through some of these numbers?
Well, I think they know exactly what they're doing. They want the personal police protection funded by taxpayers. And oftentimes this is costing millions of dollars on one hand. And on the other hand, they are spearheading deep cuts to police services for the people, so less security in the neighborhoods. And not one of these mayors has gone on the record, whether it's Chicago or New York or San Francisco. They refuse to go on the record and provide public comment. And that's quite simply because you can't answer this. This is an easy one. It's a layup on public policy. You don't cut the police protection for the people while taking an increased security budget for yourself.
And of course, as you're talking about, I mean, this isn't chump change. I mean, this is a lot of money that's being spent, correct?
Exactly. So let's talk about the city of Chicago. On one hand, Mayor Lori Lightfoot says that she's against defunding the police. But our auditors at OpenTheBooks.com, we found that in 2020, at the height of the pandemic, when civil unrest was looming in the streets of Chicago, the Lightfoot administration had quietly cut the headcount of police officers. 400 fewer police officers in 2020 versus 2019. And of course, crime is escalating in the city. It seems like she was taking a page on the failed policies of former Mayor Rahm Emanuel. If you remember, Rahm Emanuel had cut 1,000 police officers on the head count, and the murders and homicides had spiked to all-time highs. For example, the city of Chicago had more homicides than the cities of Los Angeles and New York City combined. It doesn't work. However, Mayor Lori Lightfoot has taken millions of dollars in personal police protection funded by taxpayers. In the city of Chicago last year, in 2020, unnamed public officials cost taxpayers $3.4 million on their personal police protection.
It's absolutely crazy to just hear all these figures. So when you were going through some of this data and you were compiling your own article at Forbes, what was some of the most surprising facts that stood out to you in your research?
Well, a lot of these big cities, first off, they're all run by Democrats. And that is just the fact. So we had fact checked when the Biden administration had rolled out the comment on the Sunday morning talk shows in June that Republicans were defunding the police. And it's just not true. Every single one of these big city mayors that had cut the police budget, they were Democrats. In the top 30 most populous cities in the country, there are 3 Republicans. Those Republicans on their budgets in their cities held serve or actually increased the amount of police funding.
So I'm very interested with your work at Open the Books. Talk to me more about your organization and how you got started with this.
So at OpenTheBooks.com, our mission is very simple. Every dime online in real time. And we get our charge on transparency from the United States Constitution. And it's Article 1, Section 9, and it states that a regular statement and account of the receipts and expenditures of all public money shall be published from time to time. So last year, we filed 40,000 Freedom of Information Act requests. It's the most in American history. We successfully captured $6 trillion last year of federal, state, and local spending. You can see all of it, including 23 million salary and pension records, right in your own backyard. Cities, municipalities, school districts. You can look up who by name makes how much money even in your local units of government on our website at OpenTheBooks.com.
And one thing that really stood out to me, I saw on your social media page, you would actually link back to a speech that you gave, a talk or an address that you gave last year at Hillsdale College. And I was actually listening to it before we came onto the show tonight. It was very interesting. And it kind of got me thinking, because of everything that you do with Open the Books and your work looking at all these dollar figures, one thing that stood out to me is how corruption is rife, unfortunately, in the world that we live in. And it's been rife throughout all of history. But one thing that I thought at least America really stood out in is that when you called people in whatever their area of expertise was, you you knew who you were getting. You knew you were getting someone who was an expert in their field, and they were going to do what they said. But now with the world in such a flux, and especially looking at the figures and all the money going on behind the scenes, I feel like a lot of that corruption now is encroaching here on America. We were supposed to be almost the exception in many ways, that we were supposed to have a different type of integrity to us, that we, with our Judeo-Christian foundation. So when you look at all these numbers coming in and you look at everything behind the scenes with Open the Books, where do you see our future going? Do you think we can still get better from here? Do you think things maybe are looking bleak for us? What's your take on the situation?
Look, it's government run wild. For example, at the federal level, your most highly compensated federal employee last year was Dr. Anthony Fauci. He out-earned 4.3 million other federal employees. And I wish, being paid all that money, he did a better job of following the science. You've got government. The federal government was supposed to be the white horse at the height of the pandemic, rolling in to save the day when the politicians shut down the economy to flatten the curve and tossed 44 million Americans out of a job. And now we know, after Congress threw $860 billion of unemployment insurance at people who had real needs, people who had lost their job, they're feeling pain. Now we know government can't do anything right. Up to $400 billion of that unemployment aid was stolen by criminals and con artists, and it is the largest public fraud in the history of the country.
Adam, thank you for everything that you're doing to help expose this fraud so that we can get to a better place, perhaps. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.